Hey, hey, hey.
Hello and welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I'm your host, Jesse
Yes.
Snyder, and joining me as always is my co host, Michael Zinn. But you may notice that I am not in my studio like I would normally be because today is the day of my brother, Shane Royal Snyder's nuptials to his new wife,
Woo!
Snyder. Congratulations to Shane. I decided to walk
Congratulations.
my car real quick so I could get the cool dagger that my brother gave me as being a groomsman in the bridal party. My
Oh,
little
very cool.
notation, Lord Jesse. Well, that's what it says on my dagger. It's very
Cool.
it's very sweet. Um, you know what? I'm going to be handing the show today over to Michael, and I'm sorry, Michael, that you got to do the thing by yourself. I was actually, for a minute, I thought that I would have time to do the show as well, but that wasn't the case.
It's all
Um,
good. It's all
but
good.
it, I feel like I should share this just amazing um, bit of sweetness that both Abby and Shane wrote us cards. Oh, and hold on one second. I got the dagger here. I'm bringing it inside. But here, let me show you guys my cool dagger. My
Cool.
sister's Volkswagen Bug. This is
Nice.
my cool dagger. All the
Wow.
groomsmen got one, and mine says Lord Jesse on it. So I
Wow. I
really
bet
like
you
that.
were happy
But
about that
anyway,
one.
Shane gave me this letter this morning, and honestly, I'm like, it's like kind of life changing for me. It was 2 pages, flipped over, and but it was just sort of amazing to me the nature of what amounts to something for somebody, like for somebody personally. Like
Sure.
I can't say that I ever necessarily had like a specific thought that my life would feel satisfying or complete if some of these itches were scratched. But sometimes you just don't know the things that are worth hearing. And it was just very sweet. My brother gave me credit for forming his a lot of his interests, and that
Wow.
the passions just inspired him, and the way I presented things, it never seemed like the path of the nerd. It always seemed like the path of triumph, and that he's a proud nerd, so much of because I am, and
And
it was really
he attributes it to you.
incredible. Yeah, it was really incredible to hear that, from my brother. When you go out into the business and you try to do the things that you really love, so often it's a very just disappointing proposition. That's why there's that saying of like, when you see how it's made, when you see how it's
Right.
made, you're like, oh man, I don't, I'm not so sure I want to be here anymore if this is how
Right.
it's made. And I really years ago I took like a sort of a bit of disappointment as I got out of being in mainstream comic books and whatnot, because I was just kind of like, now that I see how it's made, like I just don't even want to be a part of it. But recently I've been really gearing myself back up towards that, and it was such an amazing little thing, to be told that, because at the end of the day, that's why we do this show. Michael and
Totally,
I,
dude.
we have enthusiasm for this subject matter, and we love to talk about it. We don't feel like we can talk about this stuff all the time, but there are people who we can talk to about it, and we just wanted to give ourselves an opportunity to passionately bring this information to everybody week after week. So
And you got
hearing
that
how my
affirmation
brother,
when you needed it.
yeah, exactly, and just hearing
You
how
know?
my brother was affected by my enthusiasm for all the things that I love, it just really made me feel like we're on the right path, and that and everybody can feel and understand our enthusiasm, and I think that that's what breeds the life of nerdiness, the life of spirituality, is like when you can find a good reason to be excited about it. But
That's
but
awesome.
I'm here outside the restaurant. They're taking orders right now. I see the waiter over at the table. So I might call it cut it here. because it's a little hard to hear. It's windy, but it's beautiful out here. I'm so excited. I'm really excited for the show that you guys are about to have with Michael tonight. Please, give him your attention. And yeah, man, I love you. Thank you so much for rolling with this. If I can check in at the end, I will.
Awesome, man. Thank you for checking in, man. I it's good to see you, man. You look great, and it looks like a beautiful thing. Give Shane a big hug for me. Embrace him at the same time with his new wife. Embrace him and just feel that love. Specifically thinking about me at that moment, you know.
Promise I will. I'm getting in here back to the party. It's so beautiful out here.
Oh, look at that!
But
Amazing.
all right,
All right, man. Check in when you can.
love you, my friend.
And
See you later.
peace out. We love you. We totally love you. Adios. All right. Well, there you go. Jesse's checking in from Shane's wedding. It looks ridiculously amazing. And he looks super happy. And that little story, I didn't hear it yet because we haven't been able to catch up. But it sounds like he got some love he needed to get. He's been talking about what he's been doing with the comic books and kind of pitching, some stories to some of the comic book, legends, and stuff like that. And he's got some really good stuff going on. And now he just kind of got it all validated. His brother said, I used to look up to you, for those things. And I don't expect anything less from the Snyders. Do you guys? The Snyders are amazing. So yes, Taylor, it is the Michael show tonight. It's the Michael show tonight. But like always, we've kept with tradition, and we've both been here at least for the initial intro of the show. I am here today, and we had a great summer full of guests. Thank you guys for all being so loyal to the show and coming and always appreciating the energy that we're bringing to the table. It's like always at the end, everyone's like, "Oh my God, that was so cool," and I feel really validated when you guys say that kind of stuff. So thank you for bringing that to the table. And we ran out of guests, and I'm like, come on, Jesse, we both know tons of spiritual people, and I just started to think about all of the people who I've worked with, and immediately I actually looked over and I saw a book that I had helped out with, and I thought of today's guest. So I'm gonna give him the intro. I'm gonna just say hello to all of our regulars. What's up, Taylor? What's up, Angela? What's up, Ninja Kitty? I saw a new viewer in there, Bruckvids. Hey, Bruckvids, thanks for joining us today. I don't know who that is, but you're totally. I'm happy to have you here. And sad we got denied a hot girl summer. Well, we didn't get denied a hot girl summer. We had a great summer of the divine feminine. We are owed some Snyder energy. We are definitely owed a nice visit from Suzette and a nice visit from Shy. I see Courtney is here. Hey, what's up, Courtney? So we will have that, but today I am going to talk to my guest and a good friend of mine, and we're going to talk about his accomplishments and his connection with spirituality and what brings us all together kind of for this show. So the story that I have, we actually met. He was talking earlier to Jesse about how he met at the wellness center. We used to do some work together. We met in some meditation classes. We had some common friends that were working at the wellness center and brought us all together. And immediately we hit it off. But there was a project that Eric was working on, and it was a book, and he needed to bring it out to the public. And he knew that I did artwork and graphic design, and brought it to me. And man, when I saw what he had created and that he was asking me to be a part of it, I was pretty blown away. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring up what it was. I forgot to pre-do this. I was so busy earlier with a bunch of things. Let me bring up this window here. Share. Hold on a second. I can't do so many things at once. This is why it's always good to have Jesse here. Where are we here? This must be it. Boom. sharing this. There we go. Boom. So, oh, there it is, but it's a little tiny. Let me make that bigger for you. So here you go. So Eric wrote this book called God Is, and it resonated with me for a lot of reasons. Because I was kind of on my spiritual journey, but I had always had a problem with the word God. Just the word, not really the concept. I guess not my concept, but some of what I felt was the concept of God and how it had been personified. And what I saw, what Eric did here, it was so amazing. I was so blessed to be involved with it. And I'm blessed to have him as a friend. And I'm going to just bring him on because I'm tripping over my words, trying to think of some wonderful things to say. But I know when I bring him on, the energy will be there. But this is the book cover that we came up with, and I'm going to bring him on. Here he is, Eric Perez. Boom. Hey, Eric, welcome.
What's up, Zen?
How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't know why. All of a sudden, I was like, I couldn't think of what to say. We had kind of been talking earlier before the show started, so like, I had all these great things planned, and they just left my head. But you are such an amazing soul and such an amazing person, and I'm so happy that you agreed to be on the show. I started talking a little bit about this book that you did. Why don't you give me your perspective of where you're at with it and pick it up from where I left off, or maybe even give us a little prequel to that.
So you're talking about God is in particular, right?
I'm talking about the book in particular. Well, let me actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me do a proper introduction and tell the people exactly what you do, because I put on the advertisements that you are a yogi. And so yoga is a big part of your life. You're a yoga instructor, and you're a yogi, which means that not only are you yoga instructor, but yoga is a way of life for you. That's why I feel very at ease calling you yogi, because I know that's exactly what you are. You're also a spiritual guide, because I know you are in a lot of people's lives in that capacity. Because in addition to that, you're also an English teacher at a school, and very involved with the kids, and actually bring a lot of spirituality to them in some of the different programs that you work with that I want you to talk about. And as well, you are an author, which is where we came to God Is. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. And
Thank you.
now you've had a proper introduction.
Now I feel like I can talk. So God Is, as Mike said, I brought it to his attention. We got to talk right before I came on here, probably a good 10 minutes or so we were talking, and I felt like we were going to start to get rolling. So Mike hit the brakes on us. Thank you, Ninja Kitty. And we're like, yeah, let's not waste it all here. We're not on stage yet. But I did say it to Mike, and I'll say it to all of you, that it was truly, truly a great experience working with Zin. We did hit it off right away. We had similar views. He was an artist. He is an artist. I'm an artist with words, not with tech or, imagery and things like that. But it was really, really important that I found somebody who had a similar spiritual bend as myself, because it's not just about getting the pictures in there and and just cropping them, which he was great at that, because he's got the technical aspect to to his skill set. But it was really about having somebody who felt what I was trying to say, that believed the things that I was trying to get across in this children's book. You can have two fantastic chefs cooking, but what if one of those chefs is cooking for his loved ones? There is a little something extra in the food. I don't know how else to say it. I know down south they say, boy, you put your foot in it. That there's just something so special when you do things with your heart, and it does add an element that carries over into whatever it is that you're producing. So the book definitely would not have gotten out this way without brothers in here. So again, I'll say in front of everybody, I'm grateful to you, bro, for that.
Thank you.
The God Is was a children's book that it says it in the introduction, and I'll just briefly describe what it was. This was an experience that I had. meditating. Was I guess about 13 or so years ago, and I got up on a Saturday morning. My wife was still asleep, and my daughter was a baby. My son wasn't born yet. She was a couple of years old, my daughter, and they were all asleep. So it was like 7 a.m. I got up, I went in the backyard, sat in a patio chair, and I just started to meditate. And truth be told, my meditations are, typically me just trying to not think about stuff. It's actual work. I'm not sitting there floating with, seraphim whispering mysteries into my ear. It's me fighting with my thoughts and, really just trying to mitigate the ego, tough thing to do. If you've done any meditation, guys, you know what I'm talking about, but you do the work. Yep. And for whatever reason, and I'll just call it cosmic grace, I actually went into a meditation. I don't remember anything other than coming out of it. And I did not fall asleep. I know the difference. And when I came out of the meditation, I had a shift in my, I'll say perspective, but also say in my perception. The only way I can describe it, and the way I've always described it is, in the summertime, when you can see the heat coming off the street, there's the air is a little bit distorted and you can see the energy of the heat. Mm-hmm. Well, everything looked like that to me when I came out of the meditation. Mm-hmm. What was really profound was the feeling I had in my heart, which was this profound peace and this sense of connectedness and love. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. I've been chasing that thing down ever since, that feeling. And I think it was a gift. I don't think I was an adept enough meditator to have warranted such an experience. Perhaps you're given, some credit for effort. And I guess that's what it was. The universe, threw me a bone that day. So I was so grateful. And then eventually, and it stayed for a little while and then it weared off and I was still chill, but I started seeing things regularly again, or maybe it's irregular. Maybe I actually saw for the first time that moment. And I just was so grateful that I started to pray. And I told God, I said, man, this was amazing. This is just really incredible. So God, what can I do for you? Everybody's always asking God for stuff. I said, God, what can I do for you actually? And the thought came to me, write something about me for the children of the world. And it was for the kids in particular. And it hit me. And I sat down and wrote the poem. And, with a rhyme scheme and all that. And it was effortless. That moment, that day was just one of those good days. And that was it. And I sat on it for, over a decade and then found photos to accompany it with my wife's help. We went on Shutterstock, looked at 10,000 photos, picked like 22 of them, whatever it was, and switched them out, got in touch with Zin. He helped me arrange. This is better here. Fix this. Make this. Just the presentation. He helped make it masterful, and then it was born. And that's God is.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And I think the thing that hit me with it, and again, I guess I was tripping on my words because I started talking about how I was talking about things from my own perception, and I really wanted to make this about you. And I was saying how I had problems with the word God, and I think we even had that conversation, and it was really, it was me growing, and it was me learning how to understand other perceptions, and I was able to do it. But I think the thing that hit me about the book and about the way it describes God is it's non-denominational. It's not in any way is it like it's how can I describe this? It's delivered with love, right? I mean, it's there's nothing in it. I mean, when we talk about other things that may talk about God, like religion and things like that, there are aspects to the religion that don't feel like love. Maybe there is some intention of love in, telling everyone that they're born a sinner or whatever the things are that they do in religion. I personally, again, it's this non-denominational view of God, and I would love to share a little bit of it. Can we share a little bit of it, Eric?
I mean, absolutely. You know, it's like I always tell people, it's one of those. It's a short poem. I probably can recite the whole thing in 90 seconds. I think, probably, and I have it
Okay,
memorized.
okay. So
Um,
so I found the original document that you had sent me,
oh, look
um,
at that.
and I believe that
Memories, brother, memories.
the story that you told was in here somewhere, or maybe that's what the birth of the book is. Yes, the
Yes,
next thing I knew, I was waking up. Yeah, that's the story you just told. So
that's it.
so why don't we have something that's never been done before?
All right.
God is, as read by Eric Noel Perez.
Wow.
A live presentation. I don't know if this is the final format of the book, but let's go with it.
I don't know either. All right. So I'll just read it, and then I guess you'll flip from one picture to the next, Mike.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So God is in the little things that live and grow outside. God is in the great big things which reach to touch the sky. God is in mighty sun and also in the rain, in a gentle breeze with buzzing bees, in the heart of someone praying. And God is also in the ocean with his rumbling voice and strong blue arms, on the wings of birds that are always in motion as they glide on through jungles, cities, and farms. God is morning's first light, the stars of night, with skin the color of sweet summer skies. The mountains show his might, flowers his size. The sun and the moon are his eyes. God is family and friends. God is fate. God is warm food upon your plate. He is forgiveness. He is nonviolence. God is love, and God is silence. He is every father and mother, cousin, aunt and uncle, sister and brother, and each and every person of every shape, size, and color. God is tears. God is laughter. God is life. And what comes after. God is beauty, and all things good and true. God is on the inside of everything, and mostly in you.
How amazing is that?
Thank you, bro.
Oh my God, dude. Wow. I feel like I just meditated or something. That was just amazing. Seriously,
I
that
appreciate
was
that, bro.
that's amazing. That was, man, so powerful, and just such a great way to express the infinite to a child's mind. It's amazing. Angela says that gave me chills.
Thanks, Angela. I appreciate that.
It had touched me deeply, Courtney says.
Thank
Everybody
you, Courtney.
look at that. You're getting some good
Thank
response
you.
here.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Jeanette. Appreciate you
And
guys.
thank you for reading that. That was awesome. I don't think that was just kind of
Absolutely.
like a spur of the moment. I was like, let's have the author read the book.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the opportunity to do it, man.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I know you have a bunch of different things you want to talk about, but it's been a while since we've spoken. And there's just some things that I remember about your vibe and your nuance, and that is that you are an English teacher. I don't know if you want to say any details or anything, but uh, I know you have created some programs within your school that
Mhm.
are spiritual based. Why don't you talk about that?
Okay. So this is actually my 27th year teaching high
Wow.
school English. Yeah. It does feel like an eternity. I'll tell you right now. I definitely used to have hair when I started and and an earring, and I've lost both since then. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. What I created a club called Soul Club, SOUL. It's an acronym that stands for Sending Out Universal Love. The birth of the club started, I'm going to say, about 15 years ago. I was in my classroom, and a girl in the school who I had the year before, 2 years before, as a freshman, she was like a junior at that point, came in to say hi, and we're chatting, and she says, well, listen, mister, I have a friend who's been cutting. And, I thought maybe you could help her. And I said, well, tell her to start going to class. And she meant self-mutilating. And I thought she meant cutting class, right?
Right.
So she goes, no, mister, she's cutting herself. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, well, because I have legal responsibilities as a teacher. And I said, well, have you sent her? She's spoken to the guidance counselors and the social worker. She goes, yeah, she does all the time. But there are things you said to me freshman year that I thought maybe you could say to her. And I said, okay, sure. Bring her, what day is it? I said, bring her Wednesday. I can stay after school Wednesday. Just bring her after ninth period. And then the thought popped into my head to tell this, student, and you know what? Bring anybody else who wants to come and chat. So Wednesday came, and I'm sitting there grading. And before I know it, a dozen kids file into my room. So I was like, oh, wow. All right. Hi, guys. I'm Mr. Perez. What's up? And I'm sitting there grading, and they're all looking at me. And I said, I think I need to start saying something. But I didn't prepare a speech. I thought kids were going to come chill at my desk, and we were just going to, shoot the breeze a little bit, hear her out, reminder of her innate divinity. I had a couple of platitudes I was going to throw at her, maybe an Eckhart Tolle. Send her on her merry way and keep grading my paper.
Right.
12 kids in the room. So I walked to the front of the room. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you guys. And then honestly, I don't remember exactly what I said that day, that first day. All I know is that I just started to roll.
Right.
And, I've been fortunate teaching there for 27 years. It's a community that's filled with a lot of beautiful people, a lot of hardworking people. And, there's a lot of socioeconomic issues. So this was just a moment where I just started to, I prayed in my head quickly. I said, all right, God, you brought these kids here. You got to, I don't know what to do, but what am I going to say? What do they need to hear? Right. And I just spoke, about their innate divinity and about the ego and, and believing the illusion as opposed to who they really are, which is, a magnificent, immortal child of the universe, which, as grandiose as that sounds, it's exactly what I believe.
Sure, of course.
So I said it as I believed it. And it went really well. And the kids were thanking me. And one of the kids said, Mister, can we do this again next Wednesday? I said, yeah. So next Wednesday, over 20 kids showed up. The following Wednesday, in the 30s. After that, in the 40s.
Wow.
So I had to get permission from the principal to move into the little theater because the classroom couldn't accommodate the kids. And that was the birth of Soul Club, and, it's had varying numbers through the years. At my least, I've had probably 6, 8, 10 kids show up, which is still a decent group. At the most, we had 80 kids who showed up to the little theater. And funny enough, that day, I had quotes about love from the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, the Buddha Sutras, John Lennon. I just threw up just so many quotes about love and how it's really the universal principle that holds us all together, man. I'm telling you, to me, it's, and it's not, because I am a writer and a poet and I tend to be dramatic, I often feel, I'm afraid that people thinking I'm just being hyperbolic, right? Exaggerating to be, powerful with my words. But the truth of the matter is that I really do feel and experience words. And believe that. Yeah, man. And love is it's the tendrils, really, man. It's the ligaments.
Honestly, I'm listening to you tell your story, and all I'm thinking is, this is like a movie. You're like, it's like, like Robin Williams, one of these special teachers who just really like this student came to you and reminded you who you were, and was like, you said some stuff to me. This story was great, man. This was so perfect for the show. Thank you so much. Like,
Thank you.
Hey, mister, you said some stuff to me, can you tell my friend some stuff, and that's, wow, so powerful. You should write your own story as a movie.
I have a buddy at work who's a really dear friend. And he's always telling me I should do stuff. and dude, you should do this, you do that, and it's usually a good idea, but
Right.
it's always something that's going to take a lot of time. So
Sure.
when
No,
it
no,
comes
I
to
know. Right. Your first job is
yeah,
you're an English teacher, right?
yeah, but I no, I appreciate it, and you know what, Mike, you're right. I think I love what you just said. Um, they reminded me who I am. And I've been doing Soul Club now for 15 years, and I don't say it to feign humility.
Mhm.
I really need to do it. The old
Yeah.
adage that we teach what we most need to learn. I got to kind of keep this hygiene going, or I start sliding back into really negative thought patterns, and thought
Right.
patterns influence behavior, and then behavior manifests as reality. And before you know it, I'm stressed out, and my relationships are suffering, and the relationship with myself, which is the one I really need to work on, and not just me, but my soul, my connection
Right.
to God. It's got to be right, and
Right.
the kids do that.
That's amazing. Well, you know what? Honestly, also, it's something I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. Is self love, and I think that once you kind of can attain this kind of level and knowing that you have this self love, and I'm not saying that it's not work to maintain it. It certainly is, but it's so much easier for you to love everyone else and not even think about it to the point where like you said, like you didn't have this club going, and whatever it is that you said to her that hit her and touched her that she wanted you to say to someone else was worthy of having a club, you know what I mean? But you just said it because that's what you felt. You were just being you and saying, hey man, this is how you can deal with this, or giving her your perspective on whatever it might have been. you know it's amazing. I love that story. That's beautiful.
Thank you, brother. And I want to say to you and to anybody here who's listening, um, I do believe that the universe is always trying to communicate with us, and to tell us that there's a moment where we could be serving, where we're given this opportunity to use our passions and our proclivities, right, and our skills, um, in an act of selfless service. And really, you can really start tuning into that voice, and sometimes it comes in the form of a synchronicity. Other times it comes in the form of just having a conversation with a friend or with a group of people.
Right.
but
Right.
um but I
and
think you're
and
right.
in the end, how easy was it? Like you said, you just kind of woke up from this meditation and you wrote this poem, and that's really the basis of the whole thing is this poem,
Yeah,
right?
that's
that's
it.
where that's where it came from. And
That's it.
it's so easy. It just came out and boom, you you were in service, and something like that, which is phenomenal, is immortal. That book is always there now. And it's the kind of book I was telling you earlier. It's not like, to describe a book to someone, it's not the kind of book you're like, oh, what's it about? It's not like, it's not what's it about. It's how it makes you feel. It's how it's
Thank
delivered.
you.
It's the kind of book, I think I bought 3 or 4 of them and just gave them to people I knew who just had kids, because I was like, this is what I would like you to share with your child. This is what I,
So you were the one. I appreciate that.
yes, I was the one. I did actually, you know what? I did make a banner, I think, for your book here. God is, just so people can see. You can look that up on Amazon and purchase that. And it makes an amazing gift for a child. I mean, seriously, it feels so good to give it as a gift. It's just like, that's the perfect gift, right? I want to buy this because I want to give it to someone else. You
Always
know
the
what I
best
mean?
reason to buy something.
It's so great. It's so great.
Okay.
So this experience kind of opened you up and showed you yourself a bit. And I mean, you're an English teacher, so you always had a great relationship with words. Actually, let's, before I even get into the next stuff that you're authoring, I still want to talk about you, because I asked you, I said, what do you want me to call this episode? And you said, the vibration of seeking. And that was so perfect, because I know when we had our conversations, that's exactly what I got from you. You have studied so many different modes of spirituality, so different religions, different kinds of, maybe even serial killers, I don't know, but like just different perspectives, just to learn and understand your own self. I think that's what I got out of it. So we called this episode "The Vibration of Seeking." Um, I know there are pieces of knowledge that you like to share, specific books, maybe. Maybe you want to talk about a couple of things that you would recommend to people and why. Very, very simple, quick, you know.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, when it's funny when we spoke, Mike, a few days ago, when you invited me to come onto your show, you had said that you guys were using the word vibration.
Mhm.
The vibration of whatever, and you fill in the blank, which was good because then you gave me a platform, a way to go. And so I picked the word seeking that day, really because I think I wanted just a concept, a word that could serve as an umbrella where all the other concepts would fit, because it always looks different for each person, the path.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
The destination is going to be the same, in the same way that all rivers are different, but they all end up in the ocean at some point. I think anybody who's earnestly following a path that's rooted in love, in compassion, in service, gets to the goal, to the ultimate goal of
Mhm.
whatever, bliss, heaven, nirvana, right? Moksha in the yoga tradition. But that feeling of being connected and free and joyous and blissful, and it's the death of fear and of doubt and of unknowing. And
Mhm.
really that's I think that, brother, is our that's our nature.
Mhm.
The rest has been superimposed, and
Mhm.
I won't call it fake,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
somewhat of an illusion.
Mhm.
The rest, Eric Perez, Hispanic male,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
teacher, all that stuff. There's a relative truth to it, but the absolute truth is that what the yogis call the Atman. It's the soul. It's the seat of consciousness.
Mhm.
And we have some students who struggle with a lot of addictions. A lot of people, and I have a lot of compassion for people who struggle with addictions, particularly drug addictions,
Mhm.
because I know what they're chasing. There is
Mhm.
something that feels very wrong about our day-to-day living.
Mhm.
It just feels like it's like Neo in the Matrix. Like this is something wrong about this world. Something is just not quite right.
Mhm.
And that's your soul calling out to you, telling you that you're meant for something greater and that bliss is our actual nature. So I always have that feeling, my God, somebody who's really addicted to, something serious. We have these opiate, pandemics and stuff like that. People who are addicted, they're really just, without knowing, looking for their original nature.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't get found through that
Mhm.
path. But
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'll say that, as far
Mhm.
as that's concerned. Um,
Yes, Jeanette says ego is the illusion. I agree that
yeah,
you know what, I would say ego is a part of the illusion. I like to
yeah.
say all of these things are variables in the bigger equation. You know what I mean? There's
Hmm.
nothing is definitively, well, this is this. You know what I mean? It's a part of it. But
It's part of it,
definitely, absolutely. You know.
without a doubt, man. Yeah. So you're asking about what books that you would think I would
Yeah,
recommend?
well, yeah, I know when we spoke, you had mentioned like the Bhagavad Gita, certain
Mm-hmm.
books that stood out to you that were almost like, well, these were, they may not be now current things that you refer to, but at one point you referred to them often
Mm-hmm.
to kind of ground yourself in the beliefs that you have now.
Yes.
So, I just I kind of always respected your words, and so I figured maybe you had one or two, to throw out there that you'd recommend for people who, I mean, the people who view this show are mostly, I mean, we have a couple of people who are actually mediums, and they're mostly in tune people, but when we first started, a few of the viewers got reached back out to me and said, hey, you really inspired me to just move forward with things that I was thinking already, and just you gave me the courage to do it. And that it was that simple, you know what I mean, to give this show purpose. Right.
Absolutely.
So we have that purpose, and that's what we do. We just talk about our own experiences, and sometimes people are like, why the hell are you so happy? When I walk around, if I'm singing a song, and I mean, it's like, I'm happy because I intend to be happy. You know what I mean? Why would I intend anything else? Why would I want to be anything else? You're right. um
True. True story.
so, yeah, true story, exactly. So, I mean, again, it's simple for you and I, but also you and I are very compassionate to, the conditioning and ego things that hold people to beliefs that are a lot heavier, that aren't as blissful and happy that we talk about.
I do think, I mean, and I do have some suggestions and recommendations, but I think
Yeah.
I'll preface by saying, and I've been discovering this a lot more really just these past 6 months, is that it's really hard to change people's minds about things, but it's not so difficult to touch their hearts.
Mhm.
So I think as spiritualists, and I imagine everybody who's watching the show is in some way a seeker, and it's really our time to help usher in what people are calling an ascension. The chaos we're seeing in the world, and it's widespread, is symptomatic of us having gone off course as a species. But it's also a sign that there's an awakening happening and a cleansing that's happening. So I think our job, I believe it is, that it's our job to love people back into focus, to love them back into the path. And it could be their own path. And we do that with forgiveness. We do that with compassion. And we do that by practicing something that's really hard to get going, but it's worth the effort. And that's non-judgmentalism.
Mhm.
And because, I mean, I'm making judgments all day. I have opinions all freaking day long. And I know I need to work on that. And yet they still just pop up. You just
Mhm.
said that conditioning, that programming, it's pretty deep rooted.
Yeah.
But love really, and forgiveness and understanding and compassion and empathy, these things help kind of rewire people. One of the things that I've practiced as an English teacher, and it was a quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it became kind of my mantra, was when people know how much you care, they'll care how much you know.
Mhm.
And I think that's the way in
Mhm.
for a spiritualist. And then once we get there, once you touch somebody's heart, once you made them laugh, it's a very
Right.
short distance between two people. That laughter,
Right.
closes the
Right.
gap.
Sure.
Then I think, depending on where you are on your path, I know some people love reading stories, in which case the two books I would recommend are the one that kind of set me off on my path 20 years ago, whenever it was, Dan Millman's The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Fantastic book.
Mhm.
My roommate borrowed it from a friend. It had a ripped cover, sat in our house for months. And I just kept looking at it, kept looking over at it. And one day I finally just picked it up, read the back cover, read the introduction, and then I read the book like in 3 days. And that was it. I started meditating right there, started going to find, gurus from India and from different parts of the world. I really just started seeking. I couldn't get enough.
Mhm.
The other book I would recommend is one I actually teach at the high school to the honors freshman classes I teach,
Mhm.
and that is Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. That is a fantastic book. It is a book about purpose. It is a book about the way we can tune into what the universe is teaching us, how to listen to that voice and allow it to guide us
Mhm.
on our way to our purpose, our destiny, which of
Mhm.
course is always love.
Mhm. Mhm.
Fantastic book, easy read to The Alchemist, super easy read, beautiful story. I
Yeah,
read it
I
every night with
agree.
my kids, and I get chills, when I read it with them. Sometimes I get a little teary eyed, and
That's a
my
great
kids are
one.
like, "Yeah, dang, Mister, you love this book, you're mad sensitive,
So,
Mister."
so I think Angela is bringing up a good point. I just want to clear it up, make sure she's saying the right thing. She's saying we need to paint the beauty on the dark slate. I'm not really sure what she's saying there, um, but it made me think of a conversation I had recently. I was talking actually to Sarah Curley, and it made me think of, if we, there's kind of a baseline for spirituality, believing in spirituality. Certain things you believe in energy is the root of all the things, and vibration, and that philosophy rooted around there, and universal law. And so one of the things that I do believe when I think about, all is the light side and the dark side, and that they kind of both need to exist. It's not like you and I'm just talking out loud here, I'm just thinking out loud, it's not like you've been told your whole life like there's this battle going on between good and evil. It's almost like in the ultimate level of ascension, they both recognize each other as part of each other and are harmonious. So the conversation I was having was, people don't really understand when I even bring up the idea of having compassion for somebody like Hitler, or even just a concept like Hitler, having any sort of compassion for it. But when I think about it, I don't know, I can't tell you what it is, but I feel it. I certainly feel it. You know what I mean? I feel like, well, something happened to the guy or whatever it is. And, I'm separating guy and concept, but you know what I'm saying? Like I honor the dark side. I don't, I'm not aligned with the dark side. I feel like, I've always said that in my life. I was never one for organized religion. So I said, well, I don't really practice a religion, but I'm aligned with good. That was basically my baseline. You're either aligned with evil or you're aligned with good. That was it. But again, it's like I don't necessarily, I don't feel aggressive towards the people who are aligned with evil, and like I've got to vanquish them. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
I don't know why. I don't know what brought me on that tangent, but it was what Angela had said. I thought she was talking about pointing out the beauty of the darkness, that there was beauty in darkness, and whatever. And I mean, I guess when you kind of try not to be judgmental, then you can understand that.
I also appreciated that you wrote it, and I started thinking about stuff too as soon as I read it. We paint on the dark slate. It's a tricky thing. I think two things I'm thinking about. The first is what does this look like, this concept in our everyday life? And I think there's a quote in the Bible. Let me see, how does it go? That where God says, I think it's in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. It says, verse 45, line 17. I, the Lord, make the darkness and the light. So that's a tough thing to wrap your head around, how God would make both.
Right.
The one thing I see also is there's the material universe and then there's the spiritual universe. My understanding of it, and it's, I don't need to say a limited understanding of it, obviously, is that within the physical universe, there is a duality. There is the darkness and the light. You can't write on a white erase board with a white highlighter. You need the contrast to see it. So that's what I thought about when I read Angela's quote, that, it's upon the slate, upon the canvas of darkness that the universe can come off. So there's something to that, I believe.
Wow. That's so great. I love what you just said. Both ways. You said it both ways, actually. And I love that. You said it both ways. You have the white paper and the dark ink, and then the universe, and then the light is coming off of the darkness of the universe, is the light.
And that is how I think of it when I do think about this. The other way I think about it also, though, is that I think it's only within the physical universe, but not even in the physical universe, darkness and light are not equal opposites. They're not. Darkness is the absence of light, but light is not the absence of darkness, because no one can create darkness out of thin air. The only way to create darkness is to destroy, to smother a light source. So either way, darkness is still reliant on the light. But light, not the other way around. The light is its own element. I can light a lighter. Phosphorescent rocks create their own light. Electricity creates light. Lightning creates light. And the light exists in and of itself as a primordial element. The darkness does not. So they're not equals. And in the same sense, God and the darkness, they're not equals. The universe, the spiritual universe, is without darkness because it is it's light itself. But for us to exist here and for this creation, I mean, because if we're all just a manifestation of that one original thing, if we're all just, fragments of God, having these experiences. Well, the only way for that to happen is for God to, and I'll put the air quotes up, forget himself without ever really forgetting himself.
Right.
And there has to be some free will in this. Right. And that's where evil can be born. Evil can be born with free will. And when people argue the point with me, like, well, why give us free will then? Well, because without free will, love can't exist.
Right.
That's why love is so awesome.
Right.
Because it's never forced. Love, I mean, just it's drawn out like a magnet. It's perfect. It's beautiful love.
Right. And that's why it's so awesome when you choose it. So
Right.
So Angela's clearing it up. She's saying it means when all someone sees is darkness, point out the beauty of the darkness, which is actually similar to what I was saying.
Absolutely.
Like there is beauty in darkness. And
absolutely.
It's like the way in the South, if you don't like someone and you don't want to be ugly, we just say, bless your heart. So I like that. Nice way to say it. And then we've got Bruckvids saying even just letting your own light show when surrounded by those suffering in darkness can be more beneficial and powerful than we realize. Absolutely. And
yes.
And we do. And the cool thing is, I feel like, I mean, I know for me, Eric, I do realize it a lot of times, and I get to get that little smirk on my face and be like, I get what just happened. That was awesome. You know what I mean? That was good karma happening through me, you know, or
that's right.
Or whatever it was, you know.
It's a beautiful feeling.
It's amazing. Yeah, totally amazing.
I think that's why I always appreciated the metaphor of a lighthouse. And a buddy of mine always talks about it. And he says, because when you want to do good, sometimes you feel like going out and almost evangelizing. But really, I think and I'm coming into my own. And when we talked earlier, I said I've been kind of retreating a little bit back into a cave to kind of build myself up again. I think, if anything, we just need to be lighthouses. Lighthouses don't leave the shore. Right. But they do have a light shining all the time so that the wayward ships can find their way safely into the harbor.
Totally.
And I think that's an easier way. That way you're not hitting people over the head with the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita, or giving that holier than thou, narrative.
Right. Oh, interesting. You know what? And now that makes sense too, as why you're like, I don't really want to talk about books and stuff. But I've been having this conversation. I'm actually having some great conversations with Alicia Munyan. I don't know if you know her. She was a guest on our show a couple of weeks ago, and Lynn Laborde. I know you probably know her. She was in charge of Soma, and we've just been having these great conversations that are totally related to everything that we're talking about. I just lost the thought of what I was thinking about. It was just about kind of like, I guess, being in service and kind of this knowing. It's almost like it can almost feel like sometimes I worry. I'm like, is my ego coming back? And then other times I'm just like, no, I'm just freaking happy. I'm just freaking happy that I have a great effect on other people, and that, everything, just things I know. The things I know make me happy.
Yep. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. As far as saying, am I getting my ego back? I mean,
yeah. And I've experienced that. There are even times where I've had pretty good meditations where I'm drifting off, and I'm not falling asleep. It's just the mind is opening, and it goes for a while, and I'm starting to feel that peace settle deep. And then I go, wow, this is awesome. Check me out. And then, then I fall off the cliff, then I'm back on earth. It's like Eden all over again, man. I bit the apple.
So all right, well, you know what, we got a little bit of time left, and we actually did not get into the next things that happen as far as you being an author. Why don't you tell the story of what happened next after God Is?
So I have I have 3 books published. God Is, 2 others. And I'm working on 3 books now. 2 of them are done. And a third, I still have something to add to it. The 3 books that haven't been published yet are all poetry books. I feel like I've come into my own. I turned 50 in February, and I'm throwing caution to the wind, man, and I'm just letting it go and, flirting with the muses and letting them, flow through my pen every now and again. But
Nice.
the two books that I have published, and I'll bring it up here. This one, I don't know. I think my wife's watching in the other room. Sweet Caroline.
Hey, Caroline, how you doing?
So this was a book of poetry, a book of love poems that I surprised her with. I wrote some of them 22 years ago when we were first dating, and I was head over heels in love. And then I wrote the second half of the book over the last couple of years as our marriage took an incredibly beautiful turn, and we experienced the resurrection of our love and our friendship and all these amazing things. So I surprised her with it, and she'll tell you that she filled up a waste paper basket with snot rags reading the book because she couldn't stop crying. So, but I was very, honored to, what she says? She goes, "Oh my God, I feel like I can die now." I was like, well, I was like, hold off, babe.
Wait a second. I just
maybe not today.
My love to you.
Yeah, what the hell? You gonna leave? What's up?
So Caroline's out there. She's saying, "Hey guys, what's up,
yes.
Caroline? Good to see you."
So, and then the other book I wrote was it was actually I had written a paper for my master's degree. It was for one of my master's classes, and I had taken a class called what was it called? It was called Literature in the Environment. So it was like Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, a lot of those transcendentalist deep guys, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, these deep things about man's connection to nature, humanity's connection to nature. So
everyone's saying hi to your wife. Sorry.
Everybody's saying hi, Caroline. Look at that. You're famous, P. So I wrote it, and what it was is that the final exam had to be that I had to read and write about one of the authors we read in class. Now, I was already an English teacher. My undergrad work was in literature and obviously in English. I'd grown tired, to be honest with you, writing about other men's experiences and other women's experiences. So we had read during the course of the year something called a ramble. And a ramble was somewhat like a stream of consciousness writing that an author would let flow from them when they had immersed themselves in nature. So Henry David Thoreau did it years ago. He went and moved to Walden Pond for like 6 months. This is when you could still drink out of streams before the Industrial Revolution, living off the land. And he read daily the Bhagavad Gita. Also, just not something, a fact that not everybody knows. 1800s American poet had gotten a translation of the Gita, which was rare back then. So I emailed my professor and said, listen, can I do my own ramble? At the time, I was living in Stony Brook in a historic house. I was right by the pond, right by the beach, and right by a labyrinth that had like 100 acres. I said, what if I just, meditate and do my thing for the next 5 weeks, whatever it was? She said, go for it. I did. I wrote it. And then that was it. And then 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, we were planning to move to the house I'm in now, the house you were at, Mike. Mm-hmm. And we found it in a box. And I read it, and I don't mind telling you that I shed tears. I think seeing the young man again, the man, I don't know if it was 30 or, in my late 20s.
Right,
and
right.
I was in my late 40s. It was really interesting meeting that guy again. It was cool.
So cool. Yeah.
And I had been so distant from that writing that it was like reading it for the first time. So I got to be somewhat more objective.
Right, right.
And so I edited it, and Caroline did 3 watercolors. 2 she had done 20-something years ago, and then she did a new one for the book. So this is the book here. It's called Rambling, Soul Searching on Long Island's North Shore. So that one's published.
So that book, actually, you know what I just thought of? This is an interesting little twist to that book. That book is actually kind of an experiment in time travel. You actually mentored your younger self, right? Through reading that paper again and kind of revising it and bringing it up to speed, right?
Dude, that's a great way of putting it. I never said it that way, but that's kind of what I experienced.
So cool, yeah.
And seeing, the good things that I was able to do as a 20-something-year-old man, but in my 40s being like, well, you could turn this phrase better now, so just do it, and I fixed it. I did want to show one of the, I don't know how good the quality is, but this is one of the illustrations that Caroline did. And that was up in a hill in the back roads of Stony Brook, bordering the water, you can see. and I went to that spot. I think it was 5 or 6 days in a row and meditated like 5-6 hours a day in the rain. I fell asleep a couple of times and just laying there in the mud.
Right.
But it was all then I just all the experiences I had. And it was really profound. And it was beautiful then, and it was beautiful now to create it. So now the book is out there for the world.
That's
Also on
amazing.
Amazon.
That, and you know what's so cool is how significant that painting is to the book itself. That's so cool.
Without a doubt.
What a great story. You are, I'm so glad that I had you on the show. Were full of amazing stories.
I'm honored, brother.
Yeah, man. And we got to talk about that. We definitely got to write a movie about you. You are definitely an inspiring character, that people, it's like those movies that people leave, they feel good, they're like, oh, that guy, he was so good, that guy.
You're a sweet soul, Zin. I got to tell you. I appreciate it, man.
I'm just telling you how I feel, man.
But who would play me in the movie? Who's going to play me in the movie?
You know what? You get to pick.
I get to pick. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I'd have to think about that. That's a good
question. I'd have to think about that too.
Awesome. So cool. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. That's you had mentioned something about stream of consciousness when you were talking about that rambling, and I thought of like this show. I'm like, yeah, this show is kind of like that. We just get into a conversation and go, and whatever happens. And
it's jazz, brother. It's jazz.
I love that. It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, I want to say good night to everybody. Good night to Caroline for watching. Thank you for watching, and all of Eric's friends that he brought to the show, and all of our regulars. Thank you. We will be back next week. Jesse will be here. I will be here. I don't know who our guest will be, but we will probably have an interesting guest based on how the show has gone and how it's going and what it's turning into. I'm not even worried about it. So thank you, Eric. Stick around for a minute after the trailer here, so we could say goodbye.
Thank you, Zen.
And again, thank you guys for being a part of this. Peace out.